Welcome to the Observatory. It's July 27th, 2014, and in this episode of the Observatory, I want to try to keep all the segments to 1 minute if I can. So it's going to be a lot shorter. The topics I want to bring up this week are the pineal gland, art and culture, Gangotri Baba, my ideal music studio, Japanese artist Murakami, land restoration, and new ideas about ayahuasca. Okay, the pineal gland. Pineal gland is a gland in the brain. Some would call it the eye of Horus. Some call it the spiritual antenna. And it's been a major concern that some modern products have calcified the pineal gland, making it harder to have spiritual vision. So a lot of what I'm doing and focusing on this year is to decalcify the pineal gland, if it's calcified at all, to keep it as clean as possible. And what I'm doing mostly right now is meditating for the pineal gland. I just got some iodine supplements, and supposedly that helps to cleanse it, and also some raw cacao. Lemons are also a good thing. Okay, art and culture. This week I went to an artist talk at the Carrick. Two black artists, and so part of the discussion was about race, and something I want to comment about art and culture and race is that just make this point. This one point is that a lot of when people talk about racism, it's not about race, it's not about the color of skin, it's much more about culture. I think cultures are much more at odds with each other than races. And you can be a certain race but be a different culture. So you can commonly think of white culture, black culture, Asian culture, even things like academic culture. Older generations sort of have a different culture. And then there's many different cultures. But my point is that it's much more about culture and expressions of arts, and also when there are discrepancies, than it is about color of skin or race. Okay, Gangotri Baba is the Baba I'm bringing up this week. Gangotri is considered the birthplace of the Ganges, and it's way up in the tops of the mountains. This Baba is known for being very pure, close to the source of this holy river. So he's very considered very pure, just as the source of the river is. Also being a hiker and a photographer. He's still human, with the 3-hour headstands, but he wears a knee brace, talks about pranayama, breath work, and taking beautiful photography of other Babas and the Himalayan mountain ranges. He considers his life to be very blessed. He's climbed many amazing mountains and just sends out amazing information. Okay, my ideal music studio, off the top of my head, I have to go with mostly hardware, probably Cubase as a digital, even though I don't really know Cubase, but the synths I'd go with would be definitely a Nord, probably Nord Lead 2 or Nord Lead 3, Access Virus C or Access Virus Indigo, or both of those, a DOM studio or Atom studio monitors, an RME or Mark of the Unicorn digital inner audio face. Let's see, a nice mixer. I'm not sure what kind, not quite as important, but Juno 106, an Alesis, and an Andromeda synth, a Moog synth of some sort, and an Ovation for bass, and a lot of those old Roland synths like the SH-101, TB-303, and all the old Roland drum machines like the TR-909, 808, 606, 707, etc. Okay, Japanese artist Murakami. I saw some of his work when I was living in New York. He had some installations in Grand Central. He's known for the super flat style. What I like about him is that he pointed out how so many themes deal with the similar, so many modern art themes deal with sex, birth, and death. And I guess he wanted to get away from that a little bit with sort of focusing on these like comic flower faces with multiple eyes, kind of psychedelic, and super flat, so it's kind of based on comic strips and otaku culture, very colorful. He had a huge installation at the Versailles, which was a very interesting juxtaposition between this this old French royal style and this Japanese comic style. I really like his work, and I like his philosophy and art. Okay, land restoration. I've come across a few different people that are working in restoring barren landscapes in various parts of Asia and Africa. I find it really fascinating to see how much can change from almost a desert landscape to a lush green crop-producing fields, and to see that's actually happening right now. It's very hopeful. I think one of the main points that they talk about is that it can be done, and a lot of it is separating out these areas to keep grazing and livestock from grazing on them for a couple of years, which can be a difficult point, but I think it's an essential point. And also having people work with shaping the land so that the landscape retains moisture, and planting the right crops such as rice or whatever they're planting for the area. So really fascinated by work in this area right now. Okay, something I learned recently, a couple days ago, about ayahuasca really fascinated me. A scientific research paper, I think it was from people in Japan, discovered one of the active ingredients, harmine, and the beta-carbolines in the ayahuasca vine has to do with resetting the circadian rhythms. And so a couple of things I learned, 2 points, is that circadian rhythm offsets, there's a correlation between the circadian rhythms not functioning properly and pathology, so that's why it's considered a medicine. There's the circadian rhythm for the brain as well as for the internal organs, so this sense that the brain and the body aren't in sync has to do with these circadian rhythms, and ayahuasca can bring the brain circadian rhythms in sync with the internal organ and body circadian rhythms, which can restore health in a lot of different ways, and I found that fascinating.